So this is our first video PowerPoint capture, Introduction to AP Statistics. Now, if you haven't already done so, turn off the TV, put away your phone for a little while, let it just go to voicemail or, vibrate over on the side. If you have your computer open, but you also have your chat window for Facebook open or your Twitter feed, close that. Okay, this is for real. Imagine you're sitting in class, gonna take notes. You can't have all of those other distractions. So this first PowerPoint is really mostly some vocabulary. It's a little bit of the big picture of statistics like we've been doing in class. And it's some of the very, very, very basic vocabulary that we're going to use all year long. So, what is statistics anyway? Well, here's an actual definition for statistics. It's the science of collecting, analyzing, and drawing conclusions from data. We basically have 4 parts in AP Statistics: producing data, so that's the collecting part. Describing data, so that's the analyzing part. Then we do a little bit of probability, and that's because the probability is the basis for us to be able to draw conclusions, to make inferences. So this is kind of our basic definition. It's the science of data. We collect and we analyze and we draw conclusions from data. Now, why the heck do we even need statistics? Why do we need to study them? Well, we've got some basic reasons. I'll let you, read the cartoon here for a second. Statistics are everywhere, and I hope one of the things that you found in the summer project in the book is that it really is. It's everywhere. All the time we're hearing these numbers and these statistics and these results from studies and things. And if you don't have a basic knowledge of statistics, then you can make really bad decisions. Like this young man here who thinks, well, hey, I could just go down on my skateboard because there's not as many injuries in the winter. One of the reasons that we study statistics is to be informed. We have these numbers coming at us every day on the news, in articles, in magazines, and we want to know if some of these things that are out there that are reported, are they actually true? Do they make sense? Is this good information that we're getting? Another reason that we study statistics is to be able to make judgments. Do we know enough information? Do we have an idea of what's going on so we can make a good decision? There are lots of things that we're going to be, you're going to be dealing with in your life, and you need to be able to use the data correctly to be able to collect and analyze that data to make good decisions and to make good judgments. And then there are other people who are making decisions for you based on data. We saw in the Target article that companies are collecting data constantly on you. And so when they make decisions based on that, like your insurance agency or something, are they really making the right decision for you? And if you don't have any knowledge to be able to argue or say, I don't think this is right, or to back up your claim, then you're kind of just at their mercy. So let's take a situation, and we're going to kind of use this situation to model the rest of our vocabulary. Let's say we want to know something about the GPAs of high school graduates in the nation, in the United States, this year. Okay? Now, we could collect data from all the high schools in the nation. That would allow us to know something about the GPAs of high school graduates this year if we collected data from everyone. But that's not always a good idea. So if we want to know about all the high school graduates, what kind of word would we use to describe them? Well, that's our population. That's the whole group that we want to know about. about, okay? We want to know about all of the students, all of the graduating seniors in the nation. So that's our population, okay? That's who we want to know about. Now, do you know what we call it when we actually try to collect data on every single person that we want to know about? Okay, we just did it not too long ago. That's our census, okay? We did that for the whole country. And even if we're not talking about, every person who lives in the United States, if we have our population and we want to try to get information on every single person, every single plant, every single fish, every single whatever, we call that a census, okay? And then if we're able to do that, if we're able to find out information from every single subject in our population and find out some number, right? Some numbers, some percent that do this or the average this, we call that a parameter. So it's a measurement that we figured out by looking at the whole population. Parameter, population, they both start with P, so that's easy to remember. Now, the problem is it really going to be very practical to collect data from every single high school in the whole country? That's usually kind of expensive. It might take a little while. In some cases, a census isn't even possible. So if we can't do that, if we can't find out every single piece of data that we want, we take a sample. Okay, so we have our population, and then we take a subset of that population. Okay, and so we want to know about the whole population, but we're going to find out about the sample because that's going to be, usually more practical. Okay, now we don't just go out and sample and we don't just scoop up something. We've got to have a method for doing that, and that's one of the first things we're going to study. And so if going back to our high school graduates example, maybe we take we pick out a certain number of high schools from each state, and at least we collect data from them. That kind of idea where we can't ask everybody, so we somehow come up with a sample. And once we do that, we can calculate a statistic. So if I have a sample and I get some numerical measurement, the proportion of orange Reese's Pieces or the mean number of female pilots, something like that, if it's a number that comes from the sample, then we call that a statistic. And once again, sample, statistic, nice alliteration there. So we have statistics, which is the science that we're studying, and then a statistic is a certain measurement. Okay, so same problem that we've been talking about. We've collected some data. What can we do with it? Well, once we collect the data, we want to somehow describe it. We want to analyze it. That's the analyzing part. Maybe we're going to make a graph. Maybe we're going to do some sort of math and find the range or find an average, something like that. But that's where the describing the data part comes in.